Folks, Bob Desmond here at The Contrarian Trader, and welcome to a post-trade review of our trade of NUGT, which is the Direxion Leveraged Gold Mining ETF. Now, I want to start this video off with a post that I put up on StockTwits on December the 12th of 2017. Now, why am I starting off here? The reason is this, is that you get many of my competitors out there who make bold calls, talk about these grandiose profits that they've made, yet you never know if those trades were for real. So what I like to do to combat that is to build credibility by putting myself out there. And I put myself out there not just simply by posting posts on my blog, but I also post to third-party objective websites such as StockTwits, which is probably the best financial social media site out there. So for the purposes of this conversation, we'll use StockTwits. It's also posted on YouTube. So on the 12th of December, I posted a comment on my best stock charts, the follow-up, Bob makes a gold bottom call. So what we're going to do today is we're going to review my trade of NUGT, which trades normally tick for tick in correlation with gold. We're going to talk about actually a loss that I initially took on NUGT, and it's a loss that I consider to be a good thing. And that seems counterintuitive, but I'm going to explain myself. Then we're going to discuss why we decided to enter the NUGT trade, why I decided that the bottom in gold had been put in for at least the next 8 months. And then I'm going to give you my opinion of where I believe that gold and the gold mining names are going to go in the future. So let's get to it. But before we go to the charts, what I want to do is play you a very brief excerpt from my gold bottom call from December the 12th. And again, it's still posted on StockTwits and YouTube. Here we go. Now, the next chart up is gold. The daily chart is abysmal. Now, before I get into this chart, let me say this. In 2016, I was long of the gold stocks, and silver made a killing, did very well. In 2017, we have been long of the gold mining names. We have stopped out, and we have now begun to re-enter. So 2017, while it's been a good year for us as a whole in terms of our portfolio, we have done a little bit of battle with the gold and gold mining names. But I'm going to make a bold prediction here today that we are, within the next week, we will have seen the lows for gold for at least the next 8 months. Okay, so that was my call from back in December regarding my opinion on the price of gold, and in saying that, the price of the gold mining names as well. We were already long of NUGT by the time I did that recording, and we bought here at $25.41 on December the 6th. We sold yesterday at $33.12. We'll go over the reason why we sold 1/3 of our position yesterday for a gain of just over 27%. And if you're doing the math, I know a lot of you do that. You're going to say, Bob, you're undercutting yourself. Your math is wrong. It's actually over 30% profit. What we need to do is take into consideration some other shares that we have put on this trade. We have purchased on strength. So we want to be transparent, and we don't want to paint the tape in our favor. We just want to be honest here. So before I get into the entry points on NUGT, I mentioned earlier that a loss is good. Why is a loss good? I took a loss. What are you talking about, Bob? You just told us you booked the profit, but yet you took a loss and you're saying it's good. What are you, nuts? All right. So here's when a loss is good, and this is what I teach members. And if you're new to trading, bear with me. Some of this is going to go over your head, but if you're a member, you'll learn, you'll ask questions. I have a wide variety of members, some very experienced, some moderately experienced, some know nothing, and that's fine. The only stupid question that doesn't get asked by a member is the one that doesn't get asked, and I will certainly answer it for them. So why is a loss good? Well, we were building a position in November, and I was kind of doing it reluctantly because I knew that seasonally for the first 2.5 weeks of December, NUGT does not trade very well. In fact, it's quite ugly. Now, remember, I've been trading NUGT since October of 2015, and we've done very, very well. So in an alert to members on the 29th of November, I mentioned if we break down below this low here and put in a new weekly low and close down below this support level at the let's call it the $28 per share level, we would need to stop out of our position. Why? It's because we knew that breakdown would be seasonally vicious, as we've known from the past. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. So the reason why the loss was good is because we had a strategy. We were building positions. We would only add to that position on strength. And rather than seeing strength, we saw weakness. We stopped out of our position. We took a small loss, and we lived to play another day. You can't build a house without wood. You need to preserve your capital. So on the 6th here, as we began leaning into our third standard deviation Bollinger Band, we bought aggressively in anticipation of a rally that would soon come. And sure enough, we put in a W formation and hit a bottom on the 12th. And that's when I decided that the bottom was in, because we bounced off of a support level, 1. 2, we rallied to close well off the lows of the day. We didn't close positive. And 3, the US dollar, in my belief, was topping out. Now, for those folks who are not members and new to trading, you'd be saying, what does the US dollar have to do with this trade here? It has everything to do with the trade because they trade inversely of each other, meaning gold, the miners, and the US dollar. You don't need to know that right now. That's my job to teach you that. So no worries. I will teach you all about macroeconomics and what stocks, commodities trade inversely of the dollar or interest rates. So don't get hung up on trying to understand this stuff right now. So we saw our bottom here, and you may be saying, Bob, I'm looking at your daily chart right now. How do you know using that daily chart that that was the bottom? I don't see it anywhere on your chart. That is a fair and logical observation. Allow me to answer it for you. What we want to do, and this is what I teach members, it's called multi-period charting, because before I ever decided I wanted to buy NUGT again, I already knew where the bottom should be, and if it failed, I'd need to stop out. Let's go to the weekly chart. Now, on a weekly basis, NUGT has been in a consolidation for a couple of years now. We've stopped putting in lower lows, and here was the support level as reflected on the daily chart, which I just showed you. Now, going into that trade, I was already well aware of where the buyers should be because the same support level was support back here in December of 2016, not once, but twice. Prior to that, it acted as resistance back here in January of 16. And I knew that if we closed down below this $23.96 level, we'd have to stop out of the trade because in all probability, we would see the teens on NUGT. Back to the daily chart. Okay, so fast forward from the 12th, we began to rally. On the 13th, our trade became profitable, and it was off to the races. We did see a pullback. We added to our position on strength, but then we began to see some warning flags. On the 17th, we flashed a bearish key reversal, and I warned members on Market Wrap, expect a weak Thursday and Friday. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. On Thursday, we had a weak day. On Friday, we closed well off the highs of the day, but it was an inside day. So this wasn't an easy decision for me to make to take 1/3 of our position off the table. Because what is an inside day? It means that you may be setting up for the beginning of a new rally higher because you did not take out the prior day's lows. So in my decision making, a couple of observations needed to be made. One, what was the US dollar doing? Because it has been weak, which allowed NUGT and gold to rally. What was it doing? Two, how was NUGT and the price of gold performing on a 4-hour chart? Let's go to the US dollar first. Now, for the benefit of those that are new to trading, especially commodities in the US dollar, overlaid here is the price of gold in gold, and in candlestick we have the US dollar. And you can see that they trade inversely of each other. It's almost religion, really. Sometimes because of geopolitical risks, they will trade in tandem, much as what you saw back during Brexit when they both traded in tandem, but that didn't last long. So on a daily chart, the US dollar, which is in a long-term downtrend, and I have been bearish on it for well over 2 years now because of all of our debt and the ridiculous Obama policies, we have been consolidating at the psychologically important 90 level on the Dixie. Now, this consolidation, very close to the third standard deviation Bollinger Band in red and right at the 2 standard deviation Bollinger Band, it sets up for a nice rally up to this upper band of resistance. So much as how I knew that this rally up into resistance back here on the 12th would probably spell the end of the breakdown in NUGT and in gold, which is why I put out my date-stamped call that gold had seen a bottom, because I believe that the dollar would roll over, which is exactly what had happened. But I think in the short term, we're going to get a counter-trend rally. That rally will probably be short-lived, and then we will look to add back our 1/3 position plus some on the NUGT. What do I mean by plus some? Well, I would like to rebuild our position, that 1/3 allotment, at a lower price ideally, but it's not necessary. I'd be more than happy to add back in on strength once we begin to see resistance levels broken through and closed above. That's fine with me. Longer term, let's go to a chart of gold. Gold has broken out above a very critical breakout point. It did so back in August, which we were well aware of. And we did see a retest of the breakout point. Now we are beginning to move higher, but we do have some resistance above. Now, if we see gold close above the September 17 highs of, let's call it 1363 per ounce, well then, it's off to the races. And I'm predicting that within a year of closing above that level, we will take out the August 2011 highs on the price of gold. Now, before we end the commentary, let's discuss why we exited the trade. We're going to wrap up here with a look at the 4-hour chart and why we closed out 1/3 of our position on NUGT and we booked some profits. I was concerned about the US dollar rallying. I was concerned about the price action on a daily basis for NUGT. And what I do is I like to defer to my 4-hour chart to divine where the share price of a particular stock or currency may be heading. And it's a pretty reliable chart. And you can see that we were in a triangle formation. Here's your upper band in yellow. Here's your lower band. And on Friday afternoon, we began to break down below this lower band of support. And we stopped out at $33.12. We closed at $32.84. So in hindsight, a wise move. Now, if you take a look at the price of gold, you can see that same deal here, 4-hour chart. We reversed. We broke down below a key support level. So we're probably going to see some weakness next week. No guarantees. But I hope you have the rationale of as to, A, why we took an initial small loss on our NUGT trade. It's so that we could, is to do our primary job, which is to preserve our capital reserves. 2, we discussed how we decided to enter the trade. 3, my rationale of as to why I called a bottom on gold. And 4, why we decided to exit the trade. And lastly, a little bit out of sequence here, but lastly, my long-term perspective, my long-term view on gold and the gold mining names, which I do believe is going to be to the upside. That doesn't mean short-term. We will not have some choppiness. Longer term, though, very, very bullish on gold and the gold mining names. Members, a lot more to come on this topic. And folks, if you're not currently a member, I don't care if you're experienced, you're not experienced, you know nothing, you will gain value. So please take the risk, invest in yourself, sign up for a membership to the Contrarian Trader. You won't regret it. And everybody have a profitable trading week. If you have any questions or you want to leave a comment, please do. I'll certainly get back to you. And everybody have a profitable trading week. Be well.